Hey YouTube, and before I start, I'd like to ask that you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. Either way, let me know. All right, yes, I'm going to chime in on Snoop Dogg's apology. Well, it seems like social media and radio and everybody's all lit up about it, so I might as well chime in about it since I want to talk about it. Yeah, he gave us this apology, which I think, was heartfelt, which, quite frankly, I don't think he should have had to apologize first. But it seems like, big media and Ms. King, managed to flip the narrative and change the whole narrative from the disrespectful question that she asked to making this all about her and making this all about Snoop Dogg coming at her, in such a rough way, to the fact that she's all fearful and she's all scared and he was misogynistic and blah blah blah. They've just managed to flip it all to make it look like he just came at her for no good reason. And and that's not the case. First of all, he came at her along others in social media because of the disrespectful way that she questioned Lisa Leslie in regard to Kobe Bryant. Once again, the man just died. I heard yesterday he was buried in a private ceremony. Thank goodness. There wasn't a big zoo of the paparazzi, before this public memorial that they're going to have. His family and close people, got together and properly, memorialize him and bury him and his beautiful daughter, Gianna. My sympathies and my condolences goes out to the family and friends, because it's a very hard pill to swallow, to lose a loved one. I can't imagine what it'd be to lose my husband and my child at the same time. And and to lose a very close friend, I do know what that's like. And so those who were close to him, like Ms. Lisa Leslie and Snoop Dogg, they were his friends, and it's very hurtful and hard to lose a friend, and to feel like their memory is being disrespected. That's even more so hurtful. Gayle King, bottom line, she was wrong. Everybody's talking about journalistic integrity, and a good journalist will ask this question, and a good journalist will ask that. But a journalist with some integrity and humanity would have known when to stop. The very first, when Lisa Leslie first said, she did not feel like, it that his legacy was complicated. It should have stopped there. The question should have been asked in the first place. But when she said no, I don't feel like she don't believe that his legacy was complicated. Gayle King should have left it alone, because that was her friend. But to press her by saying, no, you wouldn't see it because it's your friend. To press her on, that was just disrespectful. I mean, for the very idea that you came to this woman's home to interview her and then to come at her in that manner, bottom line, journalistic integrity, doing your job or not, it was disrespectful. And then instead of taking responsibility for it, then you want to go blame, I'm going to do air quotes, blame, your network for putting that question out there. Well, they wouldn't have had to put the question out there had you not asked it, because that's their job, to put out the most sensational lies, most tantalizing questions to draw viewers. That's what media outlets do. Duh, that's what they do. you know. And then lots of people reacted, you know. And granted, Snoop Dogg, he has a big platform. He's a very popular hip hop artist, a legendary hip hop artist at that. He said what he said, because out of hurt and pain. I mean, he's a human being. He might be this great hip hop artist and, rapper, gangster rapper, what have you. But at the end of the day, he's a human. He's a man, he's a human being, and he had feelings. And first of all, his feelings were hurting because his good friend died. Someone he said he knew personally passed away, and that's hard and it's hurtful. And then to hear somebody who's especially supposed to be a part of our community go out there and ask these questions, that didn't really have to be asked, because even though he went on trial for this so-called rape, he was not found guilty. He was acquitted. It was over. So he's not a rapist under the eyes of the law. So, that was not the time and the place. And just like Lisa Leslie said, he was a living, they had plenty of time to ask him those questions. And why didn't she ask him those questions? But no, that just came off disrespectful. He was hurting. He was upset. People react in different ways that might not be the way I would have reacted or the words I would have used. But he used them, and people react out of pain. And he got on the media. I'm sure someone must have, maybe they did, but maybe not. But at least he was man enough to apologize for the part he was wrong. And I'm so glad he didn't just blanket apologize and walk away, but he qualified. He was hurting. He was looking out for the family. I'm so glad he qualified that in his apology, and that didn't make it any less of an apology. But he's man enough to admit that some of the words he used, was not the right thing to say, and the way he came at her. He was man enough to do that. Now, Gayle King, you need to be woman enough to admit you're wrong. But, you and your friend in the media has this agenda against our black men to demonize them and put them as the face of rape and molestation and deviancy and all this type of madness, as if they invented it. And so, I just really don't see her apologizing, but she really should. If you want to get in any graces, back into any graces of the black community overall, you should. You are in the good graces of many of your really tight followers and friends and all these feminists who feel like, Snoop Dogg is all against women and all this, and he's misogynistic, and, people making these types of statements. Yeah, you got your following. You got plenty of a following, to stand behind you, but, wrong is wrong. Journalistic integrity aside, and being a good journalist and what a good journalist should do aside. But what about what is right? An ethical journalist, a ethical human being. How about what an ethical human being should have done? And an ethical human being should have stopped. Even though you asked the question, you should have stopped, and you should have left the rest alone. At least for the very feelings of Ms. Leslie, with she saying that he was like a brother to her. For her feelings and for her sake, you could have done that. For the feelings of his wife and daughters who might have looked at that, for their sake, their father and the husband, for their sake, you could have had that respect for them. Ms. Vanessa had not even buried him yet. She's grappling with even trying to probably halfway even accept this, and trying to wrap her head around it, which I don't see that happening too soon. She's wrapping her head around her husband and her daughter gone in the blink of an eye, wrapping her head around this shortness of life. And because life is short, if Snoop Dogg could apologize, Gayle King, why can't you? Why can't you see this? Our race is under attack as it is. Now everybody's trying to flip it like, oh, we need to be united and we need to not have this infighting. But hey, who started it? You you take responsibility for your part. You had a big part. This was not about you being victimized. This is about you disrespecting a family who lost a father and a husband in one fell swoop. That's what this is about. This is about feelings that were hurt unnecessarily. And if you're so worried about the black community, you would see that. You're so worried about the black community, you wouldn't have asked that question. Okay, that's my rant. I'm going to have some more coming up. I have another issue that I saw this news report on this morning. I'm going to get some ducks in a row, and I'm going to talk about that later on. If I don't talk about it today, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Something that's really bothering me, and it has to do with a community that, we've come to. Well, I'm not going to say it right now, but it's something that needs to be talked about because it also involves our girls and our children as a whole. And, we need to talk about this. Something, really needs to be done. We're going to talk about fairness and what's right. You know, we need to talk about this and make sure that fairness and equity will be had by all. So, anyway, have a great day, everybody. Peace.